What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. Let me know how the audio is doing. It was giving me a little bit of issue logging in, so if the audio is having issues, we may just need to restart it. I'm going to assume the audio is going well right now. So since I'm assuming that, let me go ahead and get a couple of things out of the way. If you're watching this video on demand, you know what I'm about to talk about. Definitely check me out, twitch.com/Lore Reloaded. Not twitch.com, I'm sorry, twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Best way to keep up with everything that is going on. Of course, if you like what you're seeing and you want to hang out with me while I'm gaming, go to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I do it almost every night that I'm not on here talking to you guys, and we just play games, have fun, have fleet operations as a part of Guardians of the Lore. So definitely continue to check that out. And of course, you can always support the channel by going to patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. For as little as $1 a month, you get all kinds of advantages, including but not limited to Patreon cut videos where I add additional stuff to it that I can't put in on YouTube, as well as behind the scenes stuff. Let's start saying hi to some people though. Up in the hizzy, we got Jackson Kennedy up in the house. Captain George, always a good party with Captain George. Old Fire Master. Jeff Morello says I'm a little bit soft. I'll speak up a little bit. We got Trek Yards up in the hizzy, up in the house. Always a pleasure. Everybody, relax. Trek Yards is here. We got the Crazy Ferelden. We also got Oro Takawa Tinga. JJ gave us an action-forward universe. And, of course, Thora Zwolf. Hey, you're the guy from Anti-Tracker. Actually, I made Anti-Tracker, not the other way around. So let's just get into it. Let's start talking about a couple of things, specifically referencing the JJ verse and my thoughts on it. This actually came from my Discord, which if you guys are interested, I'll throw it in the description. I have a Discord where people come out, we do Star Trek Online operations, and just have just good conversation. But they were talking about JJ verse, my thoughts on the Dreadnought and things of that nature. And I am one of those people who enjoy the JJ verse, as crazy as that sounds. And I know it sounds pretty crazy. There's a couple of reasons why I can enjoy the JJ verse, but do not enjoy things like Discovery. And some of them are pretty basic. First off, JJ verse does not pretend to be anything that it's not. The JJ verse is not canon at all, at any point. It is in an alternate timeline where they admit it's alternate. It didn't happen like it did. And with that, they can do whatever they want and make it look different. Additionally, I think that they have a great sense of continuity, at least to the point of Into Darkness, where they build upon the previous works. So let me give you an example. Just to kind of go through it. Let me walk you through my points on this. So, in the first Star Trek, this first JJ verse Star Trek, we have basically the entirety of Starfleet rocked when this advanced ship comes through a time portal and just destroys the Kelvin. And then it continues to use advanced technology to destroy Vulcan and other and just a fleet, Starfleet armada, or not armada, but task force just gone. In the next movie, Into Darkness, we see the continuity in that, the repercussions. We see a Section 31. Not only is Section 31 not just guys walking around, they have their own facility at this point. They have been expanded. We see Dark Ops in the Dreadnought when it comes about the ship that was designed. We see Starfleet admirals that are now drastically militaristic. The original series always had a military feel to it, always had a soldier vibe. But the JJ verse takes that to 11. The technology is more advanced in some ways. And a lot of the visual cues can be written off as the advancements that we see due to what happened with the Kelvin. And so I think that from a writing standpoint, it is just very, very well done. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. I think it adds to the lore. Now, someone brought up, isn't it canon? So when I say canon, I meant prime timeline. Because technically it is, quote-unquote, canon. But it's not prime timeline. And kind of like what Micah Leith says, I agree. The best part about JJ-verse is that it doesn't pretend to be prime timeline. He says canon, which was what I used, but doesn't pretend to be prime timeline. And so I absolutely enjoy the story for what it is, unlike Discovery, right? Discovery says it's prime timeline, so everything they do is the way that is supposed to be within the timeline, right? Captain George, dang, the Emperor is just rocking the Super Chat Rockstars board. Hey, if you wanted to dethrone him, you're welcome to, Captain George. Brad Wolf Gamer, 1v1 Lord on Call of Duty. But dude, you'd win. Now let's play some StarCraft. You want to play some StarCraft? I'd dominate you at StarCraft. Buddy, what are you doing? What are you hunting? He's hunting something. As bad as Captain Jesse 1, as bad as JJ Trek broke the original series canon, it is still Starfleet and Star Trek, unlike the last two Star Wars movies, Last Jedi and Han Solo political sexual crap. Hey, one thing you guys will enjoy is I got if Star Wars channels were honest about Solo coming out on Tuesday, it's just like if Trek channels were honest, I think you'll love it. Admiral Murphy, I hated Into Darkness. It was a really sloppy story, but besides that, enjoyed JJ Trek. So let me ask you this. What about the story is, in your opinion, sloppy about it? What do you not like? Captain George, 1v1 in Sins of a Solar Empire. I mean, I'm happy to destroy you if you want, Captain George. Thoris Seawolf, live for the Swarm. So, I mean, I think it's a really well done story. I think that it is a story that has continuity, and that makes sense to me. After Star Trek after the Star Trek movie, the Kelvin timeline, Into Darkness makes a ton of sense. Everything that happens Into Darkness, I could see them finding Khan and now using him the way they did. Everything just fits tightly together, and I would love to actually see a series based on JJ-verse and just delve into that mythos, that lore. What is this militarized Starfleet? What is it like? We do see that Kirk is still a soldier, but more passive, more being the point of reason. Would he stay that way? I mean, Jeremy Shearer, hey, I have to ask. I heard years ago there was supposed to be a TV series about Worf and his life after the Dominion War. Any news on that? I have never... No, I take that back. I think I have heard somebody say something about a Worf TV show. I've never heard anything official, and I can't see that working out. I doubt they'd ever do that. Oh, we got Donald Harris up in the house, giving $2. Thank you so much, Donald Harris. Did Donald Harris give $2? Apparently he did. Thank you, Donald Harris. As you guys know, Super Chat is this channel thrives because of people who support it, and it's how I pay my bills. Thank you so much. It's stuff like that that keeps us moving. So thank you so much, Donald Harris. How about a Star Trek Section 31, where Section 31 has to fight the Star Wars Empire and First Order? Since they have teleporters or transporters, I don't think that'd be a big issue. Admiral Murphy, too many plot conveniences for them getting to Kronos. or Kronos, and back like instantly. And I did not enjoy the last 20 minutes of Into Darkness since it was just Wrath of Khan. There are some conveniences. I'll grant that. I didn't think that them getting to Kronos was that bad of an issue, to be honest. I really didn't. But going back to what I was saying beforehand, yeah, I would love to just investigate what this Starfleet would be like. I enjoy alternate universes. I love the mirror universe. You better not jump off and hit my my collectibles there. I will be. Do not do it. Do you know anything about the Wing Commander universe? I, in fact, watched Wing Commander. I've played a lot of the games. I'm not sure what exactly would be considered canon. I would have to take a look when it goes into that. But I did play a lot of the games, and I watched the movie. I think that'd be interesting to get into. I may actually break that down. Do you know let's see. Star Trek Beyond was the most campy of the JJ movies and should have did better than Money Loss. But the Axanar lawsuit gave Star Trek fans a bad taste for good Star Trek. I don't know. I don't know if... I'll be honest. This makes a lot of people mad. I don't think Axanar impacted... I don't think Axanar impacted the box office as much as people did. Laddie, don't hit the kitty. I didn't hit the kitty. I pushed him so he wouldn't jump onto my collectibles. He would have just jumped onto the ground. So I don't attack animals. I like Solo, okay, but to me it felt more like 3 episodes of a Star Wars TV show than a Star Wars movie. Better than The Last Jedi for sure, but below Rogue One. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know that I'm going to. And I think I can make you believe that I've seen it with my Tuesday video, even though I haven't seen it, which tells you how cookie cutter it is. A big scene of Kirk dying, but nope, be back in 5 minutes later. Emotions impacts. What's that? Yeah, they shouldn't have brought him back. They should have waited for the next movie, I think. I don't know. I will say, I do like the portrayal of Khan in Into Darkness. Was different enough to give a nice new perspective of the character. Sure. Captain George, it was love. I didn't hit him at all, so I don't know what you guys are talking about. I would argue Discovery was impacted more by Axanar than JJ Trek within the hardcore fan base. Yeah, of that, I would agree. I think that it was, in fact, impacted more. Oh, by the way, since I'm on it, Donald Harris, we do have animations. If you want me to play something, I can do Cena, I can do a fairy, I can do iDubbbz, or I can do a random Star Wars. Let me know. And I'll have me next Wednesday. Jackson Kennedy up in the house. Okay, so JJ Verse, it was a necessary evil. Voyager was hard on Trekkies, then Enterprise was a miss in my opinion. So how do you make a movie around them? You can't. Felt rushed but good. I agree that they needed to do something different. I think JJ Verse put Star Trek back on the map. I think that we wouldn't have Discovery or we wouldn't have hope of even future movies without JJ Verse. I think it did what it needed to do. I will say that I completely disagree with Jace M depending on what they're specifically talking about. But if they're referring to the cat behind me, yes, you don't hit cats. Are we going to ignore the fact that McCoy basically created a cure for death with Khan's blood at the end of Into Darkness? It was pretty much completely forgotten. Not only that, we also have the ability to now transport anywhere we want with quantum transporters and technobabble. So yes, I will grant there are some bad aspects to JJ-verse. Some things that are left open. But I still think that it's overall pretty good. Archangel, how you doing? What's going on? Hey, Archangel. Nice to see you. Technobabble versus defeating villain with rock music. If I'm honest, I haven't seen that movie. I could sit here and lie, but I have not seen that movie. I will say this, though. I hate that they used rock music. That was so cliche. It was not meant for Trek. That was very bad overall. I haven't seen that movie, though, so I can't talk to how good or bad specifically. Who would win the Next Generation Bird of Prey with the 1v1 versus the Enterprise D or Warship Voyager? Bird of Prey would get destroyed. Absolutely. Against Warship Voyager, not Enterprise D. We know Bird of Prey can defeat easily in the Enterprise D. Into Darkness set back JJ verse, I'd say, and Hurt Beyond, which I found to be way more enjoyable. Okay. I do the same with my cat, as she loves to jump off my chair and onto my dog. So I'm so no hit, but good tap. Oh, and hey, how you doing? I'm doing fine. How you doing, Matthew Hurd? Yeah, I didn't hit him. I pushed him back because he was going to jump on all of this stuff, which is hundreds of dollars right here. So no, I don't want him to do that. They should have used the tune from Mars Attacks. They should. I would have watched it then. Go see the Solo movie. You'll be pleasantly surprised about how good it is. I'm not kidding, says Johnny Dew. Let me say this. I'm not impressed with what I've seen or what I've heard, especially when it comes to droids, robots, the treatment of the character Solo. I'm unimpressed with what I've heard. I will eventually see it. I don't know if it'll be in theaters. Anti-Trekkers told me to go see it because that's where the views are, but I don't know. Nice to see the pre-show is on, says the Anti-Trekker. Well, how about you go worry about the pre-show? Don't you got to go shekel and get some other money or something like that? Don't you not actually make videos? Who wins between the Dominion fleet and the Rebel Alliance from Star Wars? I'd say the Dominion fleet, being that they have advanced technology. The first J.J. Trek movie was pretty good. Into Darkness could have been much better. The third was absolutely bad. Yeah, I mean, Anti-Trek, how do you feel about the last J.J. verse Trek movie? What are your thoughts when it comes to that specifically? Do you think it was good? Did you hate it? I'd be interested in your thoughts. Star Trek Discovery started off as a rough mess, but at least their sexual happenings are not totally forced, except for Stamets and the male Doctor Lover. Star Trek Discovery as a rough mess, but at least they're... Are you kidding me, Captain Jesse 1? That is the I mean, look, Jesse, I love you, buddy, but that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. At least their sexual happenings are not totally forced. What? You have... Wow. L'Rell and... not Takuvma. Voke. L'Rell and Voke. Michael and Voke. Implied rape up until we find that it's not implied rape. Not forced. That is... No, that is... Discovery is all... It was everything forced. Discovery is forced. Look up the definition of forced, and they have Discovery as the image. The droids thing isn't that big of a deal in the movie. There are flaws for sure, and you can tell they changed directors, but it's a good movie to see in theaters. I disagree, Caravaggio, just based on what I heard. And I'll be honest, I watched Anti-Trekker's breakdown of it. I also saw Jeremy John's breakdown of it. And I watched Nerd City from Red Letter Media, and I am not, again, I'm just not impressed with it. I may go see it, but I really doubt it's going to be in theaters. You know, I mean, I guess I could go look at some propaganda for it. I think, hasn't Campia got his video up? So, I mean, I could see what someone who's paid to talk about how great Star Wars is says. Maybe that'll convince me. Shots fired. The scenes without the SJ bot are best in Solo. JJ Verse sucks because it allowed Discovery to happen. Oh, that's hilarious. Star Trek has always had an issue with force-filling romance between characters, in my opinion. I agree. I think the only thing... The ones that I would say that were done well, I think, would probably be Dax and Worf. Probably... I even liked Trip and T'Pol. That felt more interesting to me. So... Yeah. Jackson Kennedy, you nailed it. I was required to keep interest in the Trekverse for new and old Trekkies. I like characters and their development. Should have made a series out of the first movie. Yeah, that would have been interesting. I think that a series in the JJ first would have been much more interesting than Discovery. And they honestly should have went with that. Shout out to Night Folk, who just became a lore master on the channel. Welcome, my good friend. You had Bones, Spoke, and McCroy dynamic and beyond. How to piss off Star Trek fans. Prequel. First time catching a live stream on this channel. Zuzu's Corner. Welcome, buddy. Welcome to the live stream. Donald Trump would make a great emperor of the Terran Empire. Let me say this. I give them a lot of guff. I probably wouldn't have liked it at the time, but now in retrospect, it would have been funny if they had referenced him as an emperor. They couldn't have done it, but maybe put him in the wars with Khan, maybe assisting Khan. I've backed off a little bit of that, but I think it would have been interesting if they had tried to make a joke out of it. There's a theory going around that the droid was supposed to be a pure parody, and that could be why the old directors were fired. I heard that from, what is it, Boofire191, good friend of the channel. I don't know anything about that, unfortunately. As much as I love you guys and other reviewers, I'll never decide to watch a movie on their opinion. If I go see a movie and hate it, then I can say that I'm not just jumping on a bandwagon. Nexus 8462. So Nexus 8462. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for a second. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think that you should make your own decision. I love listening to reviewers. I love listening to critics, but I will ultimately make my own opinion. That said, with some special exception, the Anti-Trekker and I are pretty much on the same points on the things we do and don't like when it comes to science fiction. Other types of genres we completely disagree, but science fiction we're pretty much on par with. And so if he doesn't like something, it can inform me of what will probably be the way I feel like it. Jeremy Johns is the same too. I find that I agree generally with what Jeremy Johns says. That said, unless I get a ton of people saying that they don't like it, like Jeremy Johns, Anti-Trekker, and whoever else I listen to saying they don't like it, I try to keep an open mind and make my own up. But that doesn't mean that you can't listen to others who are informed. Matthew Hurd, okay, just to put this out there, JJ Verse was good as they did not go down a reboot. But the way they did it was a good way to go down with a new generation. LOLGG. GG indeed, good buddy. It's important to form your own opinion, but that should not prevent you from looking at reviews. I agree. Could the Dominion stop Species 8472? I think the Dominion could stop Species 8472. I think that Species 8472 is drastically considered to be overpowered. I don't think that they were as devastating as people make them out to be. One of the reasons that I don't think that is because one Starfleet ship was able to figure out how to defeat them. I'm really not all that convinced that they would have been able to destroy the universe. I also don't think they necessarily were out to destroy the universe. There's not a lot of evidence for that, only based on Kess's interactions and then Janeway being an absolute warmonger during that episode. So I'm not convinced one way. I'm not convinced that it was everything people think it was. JJ Verse is good. They just get their bridge modules from Apple. Yeah. Solo is a terrible movie. It was uneventful, unimpressive, and hard to watch. It's cruel and unusual punishment. Who wants to burn Laura's car, say I? Well, I'm sure many people want to burn my car. That'd probably make my car look better, though. Brad Wolf. If you like Threshold, Admiral Saval and Anti-Trekker, if you like Threshold, which they do, you should check out Night in Sickbay. Yeah, they love A Night in Sickbay, in fact. Anti-Trekker has talked about how A Night in Sickbay is one of his best. Everett Johnson helping out the lore, saying, favorite Star Trek movie and why? Huh. I'd honestly have to think about that one for a second. I'm not the hugest fan when it comes to Trek movies. I'm more like the series than the movies themselves. Oh, and by the way, Everett Johnson, if you want me to play an animation, let me know. I got Fairy, I got Cena, I got LeBeouf, iDubbbz, and random Star Wars. What Well, let's walk down Star Trek movies. Star Trek the Motion Picture was definitively not my favorite. The one thing I do like Star Trek the Motion Picture is that I can start it up, go get the oil changed in my car, come back, and not a lot has happened. So that is an advantage of it. Wrath of Khan was pretty good. I don't know that it's my favorite. I do enjoy the back and forth. I enjoy the military aspect to it. And I like that Khan feels like a solid enemy to Kirk and to Spock. Khan really does feel pretty powerful, pretty, I don't know, pretty devastating. The Search for Spock was fairly good. I liked a lot of what they did in that. The Voyage Home was all right. The Final Frontier, while being the Anti-Trekker's favorite movie, that and The Undiscovered Country, both of those being his favorite movies, those were definitively not. Star Trek Generations, I actually got pretty bored with. Insurrection, I was not impressed with either. Nemesis, not either. You know, I'll say this. For all the problems First Contact had, that's probably my favorite at the moment. I'm trying to consider Star Trek 2009 and Into Darkness. I think in all sincerity, I'm going to go with First Contact. And let me tell you why. There are problems with First Contact. Don't get me wrong. There's issues with all of the movies, in my opinion. Again, I more like the series. I don't think the movies really made it. First Contact, I like the interaction with the Borg. I like the fight with the Borg. And I will agree with Anti-Trekker that it really changes the Borg and makes them something they're not. But I do like this iteration of the Borg in that I think it's interesting to watch the Federation and Starfleet fight the Borg and have a chance at winning and to look at the two go against each other. I enjoy the looking at the Sovereign ship when it first came out. I also like the PTSD issues you have with Picard and him having to deal with what the Borg did to him. Now, there's a ton of issues. There's things that you guys will just start yelling out about why to hate First Contact. And I don't disagree with those. But you're asking me what my favorite is, and I guess that would be the best of the worst, in my opinion. Let's see. Star Trek, the motion picture, is not so bad and slow. Kind of reminds me of 2001, A Space Odyssey. I could agree with that. Anthony Duke's up in the house, giving $2, helping the lore grow. Always appreciated. Let me know if you want me to play any of the animations. Jackson Kennedy, great stream tonight. Question, what would you like to see in a series? Before TNG, after? Focus on a group like the Borg or future with complete new group? What I would like to see, and Anthony Duke says Final Frontier is the best comedy ever. Sure, I can agree with that. I think that's why Anti-Trekker likes it. So I would love to see a post Deep Space Nine, post Voyager Return series. And I've talked about this before. I think the next video, the next series we need to do, assuming that we were going to do a series, is oh, and he wants to see Cena. Hold on. Let's bring out some Cena.
Yeah. Are you sure about that?
Cena. Anyway, I think that we need to look at what a militaristic Starfleet would become and what they would turn into. I think that the next great story for Starfleet, if there was a story at all, is would be Starfleet fighting itself to either turn back into explorers or to stay militaristic. And I think that the conversation would be, would it happen or would it fall into a civil war? And I think that would be a very interesting story. I'd love to see that, personally. But that's just me. We now have 2 separate rebooted treks in Discovery and JJ-verse, hoping for a reunification so we can get post-Nemesis series or film. Discovery is supposed to be Prime. Absolutely. Someone asked, do I watch the online content? I do watch quite a bit of Star Trek content fan fiction. I like Prelude to Axanar, not speaking to any of the drama behind it or anyone who made it. I just like Prelude to Axanar. Star Trek Continues is very well done. I can appreciate the storylines of quite a few of the others. There are a couple that I watch where the quality is just so bad. I mean, the green screen, I can do better green screen than what I see them do. And the acting is just not there. But I do think that they have interesting stories. I always thought a good Star Trek series would be one around a successionist movement in the Federation after the failure of the Federation to protect a lot of the minor worlds from the Dominion. Something that has consistently, Matthew Hurd, helping out the channel. Matthew Hurd, thank you so much. It's support like you guys that really helped that out, really helped me. Something that has consistently come up, and it was something they wanted to do in the Next Generation, and they didn't. Something they wanted to do in Deep Space Nine, and they didn't, was to have Vulcan secede. And I think that a post-Dominion War interesting storyline would be to have a ship, and to, during the start, we have the Cardassians becoming a part of the Federation and having a lot of issues with Bajorans having an issue with that, and a lot of former worlds having an issue with that. And then some of the unkempt things, not necessarily what happened in the Pale Moonlight, but some of the other distasteful things about the war come out. Or you have Starfleet showing that it's going to be militaristic and it's not changing. And so you have Vulcan secede. And so you start to see a lot of issues, a lot of the old rivalry come back from that. And so the Andorians decide that they're going to challenge the Vulcans. That old rivalry comes back. And so Andoria sends cargo ships surrounded by Andorian warships for protection to Vulcan, expecting Vulcan to accept the ships as a part of established Federation trade agreements. The Vulcans turn them down. Vulcan warships show up, and then you have the Federation Starfleet ship show up in the middle of it, and now we got a party. So we have the Vulcans who want to secede, we have the Andorians challenging them, and we have this plot about what is the soul of the Federation. Is it a military? Is it a exploratory government? Should they go back to the Next Generation pacifism? Should they stay Dominion War, Deep Space Nine era militaristic? And I think that the answer's in the middle. And I think it should go back to the original series, because I always felt, and Anti-Trekker always talks about this, and after watching it, getting past the campiness and everything, that the Federation and Starfleet was militaristic. It was middle of the road. And that's honestly my opinion of it. Sorry, I had to answer that real quick. Suzuma's Federation Civil War. Wow, I love that idea. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. We don't even have to go Civil War necessarily. Just discontent. Have the entire thing about what is Starfleet now. For generations, for decades, people have fought about what Starfleet is. Is Starfleet a military? Is it exploratory? Was Kirk the best captain? Was Picard? let's do a series about that. Let's explore that, and let's have a ship with discontent. Let's have a ship with people who hold different opinions. And let's see what happens. Expecting Empress Kennedy and CBS to have sense is like expecting a fly without a plane or parachute. And, you know, Anti-Trekker was talking with a couple of other people about Trek. I think Anti-Tracker disagrees with me. Yes. But Super Lice becoming a lore master, thank you so much. I think Star Trek has told the stories, the good stories that's going to tell. I don't necessarily like that. I want Star Trek to stay. I just don't think there's much more to tell. And everything that has a beginning has an end. And I think we're at that point. I'm not happy about that. I don't want that to happen. But that's just my opinion. Would like to just ask what you think of Khan as a foil to Kirk. I thought Khan was ultimately a really good foil to Kirk. I think Khan's a pretty good villain. The fact that he doesn't think in 3D, I think was an inconsistency. But I do like Khan as a foil to Kirk, or even I like Khan in as a foil to Spock. Yes. Matthew Hurd subscribing to the channel. I think Matthew Hurd was already subscribed. He just wanted to see his name. You know, Into Darkness, I would have loved when you had that face-off between Khan and Spock, and they were trying to out-logic each other. I really liked that, and I wish they had went further with it. I wish they'd had that debate for a good 60 seconds to 2 minutes. I think that would have been really interesting, and I would have loved to have seen it. How would the Vulcans react when the Romulans become members of the Federation? I think the Vulcans would be happy about it. Vulcans aren't necessarily against a reunification. They just don't find it all that logical. In fact, in the Next Generation, they were open to Romulan reunification. Now, Romulans really want to bring the Vulcans back into the fold, which is an interesting discussion. And Vulcans, I don't think, are against it. I think they'd be happy. Anti-Trekker, wow, just wow. You really want to lie about me? Like, what did I say? You didn't like Threshold? Enterprise crash probably killed thousands of civilians. Yes, it probably did. Like, I'm just saying, if I was a Betazoid in post-Deep Space Nine, I would have been pissed at the Federation for allowing their planet to be ravaged and would have been pro-Beta exit. Beta exit, like Brexit. Oh, that's... that would be interesting. I do think it was too cookie cutter. I agree. Everyone's just happy. Everyone's just happy that the war's over and that all of these other negative things, like, again, yeah, Beta Z not having a huge issue that they were taken over, you know, having more tension. And, you know, the thing we forget, the dialogue in Deep Space Nine, the dialogue tells us that the Dominion were at the Vulcan sector. If we were to be completely conservative and say when he said the fighting along the Vulcan line in Deep Space Nine, this is Damar saying this, and saying it was just at the sector edges. It wasn't actually at Vulcan. They are right next to, just at the sector, the Vulcan sector. They're right next to Earth. They're right next to Andoria. Cat, I swear to God. They're right next to all of these vital founding member planets. And there's nothing from that. There's no discussions about that. Captain George, didn't you make a joke similar when someone on your live stream was not watching live? What? The anti-trekker is being a hypocrite? Mercy be. That's not that's surprising. Let's see. Star Trek Discovery could not get the Enterprise right, though. Straighten up the warp pylons and thin them up. And I lost it. Where'd it go? Something about the windows. I agree. William O'Farrell, thank you so much. Thank you for giving. Please let me know what you want me to play, whether it's a fairy, Shia LaBeouf, Cena, or iDubbbz, or Random Star Wars. Still loving the channel. They could just as easily explore the past lore and enrich it by just doing some exposition in a series set in the future. They need to stop trying to go back to find viewers. Well, let me say this. I think that Trek executives, CBS and Paramount executives, aren't stupid. And they know that the generation of the original series, the generation of the next generation, the original series generation is about to die. About to see that generation go away. The next generation is on the way out. And so they're banking on this nostalgia because they want to get that last gold, those last shekels. But that said, they're changing it enough so that they can get the younger generation to come in. Now, a lot of people like to fight that, but I guarantee you the demographics are going to show that. Discovery was made for millennials and younger. Probably, now let me rephrase that. Discovery was made for millennials. Specifically, left-leaning millennials. I think they're going to shoot themselves in the foot because Generation Z is one of the most conservative generations we've seen in a while, and I think they're going to resist that. But I do think they're doing it in the past, doing these prequels to get the nostalgia, to get those who are going to die, get the last amount of money they can out of us, and then try to get the current generation that isn't there yet. I also think the Federation places too much importance on the founding member worlds. That's an interesting conversation, because if you tried to talk to them, they would say that they didn't, of course. But I do agree that when the founding members say something, when the founding members do something, especially if it's Vulcan or humans, people back up. People listen. Next is 8462. Yeah, people who didn't watch that aren't going to understand the ending to Solo. I agree. They have to watch the Clone Wars and Rebels to get a better understanding of it. Sci-Fi Sith Dan. Honestly, I prefer Star Wars, the originals, and even the prequels, but not the new god-awful sequel trilogy by Disney over Star Trek. Don't get me wrong, Star Trek has its moments. Yeah, I can see why people don't like that. Again, I think Rogue One, The Last Jedi, I don't think it's meant for people who really enjoyed the originals. I think it's for the new generation. I don't know how well that's going to turn out for them, but I guess we're going to see. I didn't hate Rogue One. The Last Jedi, I didn't... It felt pandering to me. Well, let me rephrase that. The Last Jedi felt pandering to me. I didn't hate it until I watched Anti-Trekker's like 60-part breakdown of it. The Force Awakens just feels pandering. Darth Maul, the good thing about Solo. No spoilers. Who is the Han Solo 2 best character? Chewbacca and Tuesday Millennium Falcon. Okay. 22 Steve 515. Nope, you guys are talking to each other. The Last Jedi was... Yeah, again, The Last Jedi was pandering to me. But then... I hate it now. I mean, I just can't unsee what the Anti-Trekker pointed out. Captain George, thanks, Laura. You just told me who it was when you said he was in both Clone Wars and Rebels. Yay, spoiler. There's quite a few characters who were both in Rebels and Clone Wars because Rebels relied on nostalgic from Clone Wars. I guarantee you, you're not positive who it is. Unless you read Smokey on the Grass. But I got rid of his thing pretty quickly. So unless you read that, you're not going to know who it is. Because there's like 600 characters shared between both Rebels and Clone Wars. Do you go to conventions or Star Trek cruise? I do go to conventions. I went to the Heroes and Villains conventions. Assuming that the channel continues to grow and I continue to expand on Patreon as well as on YouTube, I intend to go to more conventions, but I gotta, of course, be able to pay for it. Let's see. I'm an F-22 Raptor. Okay. I'm very happy for you, Archangel. I hope that works out for you in the best of ways. Hey, do you guys remember the Twi'lek child in Clone Wars that Waxer and Boyle saved? She's in Rebels. She is. That's the thing. She is in Rebels. They're all in Rebels. Zuzo's Corner. Love your voice. Well, hey, Zuzu's Corner. My voice loves you too. My voice loves you too. Dude, TNG was liberal as hell, and it aired in the middle of the Reagan Revolution. Gen Z might not be full-blown millennial super libs, but they are far to the left of the 80s America. I don't know that TNG had some very, very liberal episodes. I don't think they were liberal as hell, quote-unquote. I do think they had a bias and an agenda. What's going on, Setsuna 200? Captain George. Anyone with a logical mind can figure it out. Untrue. Obi-Wan was on Tatooine. Rex is with the Rebellion, and that only leaves one character who could interact with the criminal under. That's incorrect. First off, we know that Obi-Wan. Did in fact travel outside of Tatooine. He didn't just stay there the entire time. Rex went and did his own thing, and even Rex and Obi-Wan aren't the only characters that were shared, and aren't the only characters that were impacted into the underworld. Look at the attack on Mandalore, and look at the characters with that. There are a ton of characters shared between both Rebels and Clone Wars, and served at the Battle of Mandalore when the criminal underworld attack occurred. Quite a few that I think would be interesting in Solo. Please use the word Twilight. It causes flashbacks and shudders, goes and rocks in a corner. Okay. Most of the nostalgia in Rebels is because the Clone Wars was prematurely canceled. Rebels, I didn't like when it started. I think it got better towards the end. I think it got a lot better towards the end. Of course, Clone Wars was similar to that. I don't like that Ezra could get away with basically being this dark side guy. He did a lot of things that if a villain had done it, we would be pissed off and talking about how bad this person was, and yet he just got away with it. I didn't like that. But I think the show really came into its own towards the end, and watching the entire series of Rebels is definitely worth it. You know who else was in Clone Wars and Rebels? Tarkin. See, we just destroyed it. Tarkin was actually who's at the end of Solo. So you don't have to watch the end of Solo now. How come they don't show the USS Discovery like they did in other series? I don't know what you're talking about, Jonathan Clark. I'd like to see Eva Green in Star Trek. Sure. Who wants to shoot someone in the face? I don't. Video is up for patrons. Will go public tomorrow in the AM. Anti-Trekker, you need to shill on your own stuff, buddy. Don't you got another live stream to make and ask people for all kinds of money and stuff and, you know, not make videos? Jonathan Stevie, tip, share, good week. Kathleen Kennedy will be the death of Star Wars with these lefty, third-wave feminist socialist propaganda. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, it's stuff like this that keeps the channel moving. And if you want me to play something, let me know. If I'm gonna play something, if you want me to play something else, I will. But I'm gonna do this just for you.
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of hot.
I agree that Kathleen Kennedy is a negative influence on Star Wars, and I honestly think that she... I don't think she does it on purpose. I don't... I don't... I think Kennedy is trying to do good. I think Kathleen Kennedy believes she is doing something that is a positive impact. I don't think she is ultimately. Let's see. I don't know. She's not doing any well, but I don't think she's doing. Anti-tracker. First off, a few people asked. You don't have to answer every question asked of you, sir. Second, I only asked for money for my wife. Third, F you, Lori Love. All right, so let's... Okay. So anti-tracker. If I go... By the way, while we're on that topic, everybody who gave and helped out anti-tracker, thank you so much. That was something that we couldn't have done without you guys. So everyone who did that, that's awesome. So thank you. I'm glad we were able to do that. And I've been talking to anti-tracker, but I hope everything's going well with there as well. Now, that said, hey, anti-tracker, if I was to go before what happened with your wife, would I find in the live streams you asking for money and pandering? Because based on what you just said, I wouldn't find anything like that, right? So I couldn't make a fucking montage hours long of just you asking for money. Just asking. Anti-Tracker's feeling a little testy. Yeah, a boxing match between Lauren and Anti-Tracker would be awesome. So me and Anti-Tracker give each other a lot of grief. He's a good guy. I love that his channel's doing well, and I think that I think he deserves to have as many subs as me, and I hope he gets there. I'm a huge advocate of his channel. I think he puts a lot of great stuff on there. We just give each other a hard time. We actually were talking, for those who don't know, both Anti-Tracker and I try to raise money for a program called Extra Life. And it takes all that money and it gives it to a children's hospital. And I do a 24-hour live stream. I do a 24-hour live stream where, we just raise money and it goes all to the children's hospital. And we were talking about doing a boxing match. If we could raise, what was it, Anti-Tracker, like $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that. And all of that goes to the children's hospital. We would do an honest to God. Anti-Tracker, I think people, when they give, but I never ask for money except for that one situation. Do you really think, let me ask you this, Anti-Tracker. Do you think I'm messing with you? Or do you think I'm being serious? I'll wait for your answer. Sci-Fi sit down. You're starting a feud with Anti-Tracker. Hurry up and make up. I'm not starting a feud with Anti-Tracker. 10K. Yeah, okay. Yeah, 10,000. I mean, I would honestly be up for it. We even have a local MMA thing. I think they do it for charity. If we could raise $10,000, I think that that it would do well. J-Wigs, Millennial versus Flower Child. Me and Anti-Tracker did a live stream. At Lori Loaded, is there a difference? There is actually a difference, Anti-Tracker. Me and Anti-Tracker did live streams when it came to Discovery, when the Season 1 Discovery was out. And I think that would... I think we're going to do that again. Let me know, Anti-Tracker. But when Season 2 comes out, I think we're going to watch Discovery. Immediately after we watch it, we're going to do a video on it, because that's what we were doing. Hopefully a simulcast, since his channel's up and running and is doing a lot better now. I think that would be a lot of fun. But Anti-Tracker, if you are seriously upset or you thought that I was being untoward, I apologize. And I'll even call you up and we can talk about it over the phone. So let me know. Let me know, Anti-Tracker. Star Trek logic. Enterprise is always the only ship in range, despite being, you know, a fleet. Yeah, that was the original series convention that made very, very little sense. Come on, could you please talk about Archer in Star Trek Discovery? I don't remember Archer. Stop. I don't remember Archer in Star Trek Discovery. Was Archer in Star Trek Discovery? Just hit anti-Trekker. What? Must Wesley Crusher deserve a spin? You know, it, what would it call? The, Star Trek would be dead if Wesley Crusher had a spinoff. Absolutely. I wonder if Disney will be making a management change to Lucasfilm. I don't think the opening was that bad. I honestly don't. But I tell you what, let's handle this right now. Let's handle this like men. Let's do this right now. Hold on.
Please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone while your party is reached.
Ring.
Wait for it.
Where are you calling when you're streaming?
Hey, yeah, we're streaming, so you know I'm live. So, yeah, we're live right now. So, you mad at me? Are we gonna fight? I mean, if you want to fight, we can, I guess.
I'm not gonna fight with you. I'm just gonna get my stream started in a minute and take away all your people.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose all my people. It's gonna be like 5 people, and that's just me connected 5 times to the stream.
Yeah.
You're a jerk. I'm gonna get off with you. I don't even want to talk anymore.
Okay.
I said good day, sir. I love how you could hear it in the background. He was still listening. He didn't mute his thing. Oh, yeah. Star Trek Discovery is a reboot. Just a visual one. Okay. If they do make a management change, I want them to give it to Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni would be excellent for Star Wars, in my opinion. I didn't like Dave Filoni to begin with, but I think he did really well. He would be excellent in the future, in my opinion. But I don't know. So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? Where you want to go with this? Or do we want to bring up any other topics? I do think that JJ Verse, just to bring it back, was a good show. I think that the JJ Verse had a lot of interesting stories and continuity built upon continuity. They did have some issues, but ultimately, I think it built upon continuity. Archer's name was in a list of great Starfleet captains. Yeah, I don't have an issue with, simply because I think politics would make him look very positive, very nice. Lade, not EU-friendly stream. I guess you're talking about times. Tuesday I'm going to be doing a morning stream, which will be EU-friendly. I don't mind that. I think it was like Janeway being an admiral. You know, it's political. Disney needs to make 2 changes to Star Wars. Replace Kennedy and get rid of EA. I would agree with getting rid of EA. Faux show. Little nice way to do it as with Anti-Trekker. Good show. Okay. Did you say continuity? I do say continuity. So JJ and the new show are independent from each other, right? Different looking Enterprise on both sides. Yes. The JJ verse is set in the Kelvin timeline, not the Prime, and the Discovery is set in the Prime timeline. Steve Pounder, just becoming a lore master. Welcome to the show. JJ wasn't bad, but the size of the Kelvin, the Franklin, and the size of the Enterprise has issues. Sure. How united in the UN? How united in the UN is the UN in the Expanse? My understanding is the UN is absolutely united, that they're an authoritarian government, or maybe not authoritarian, but they're the end all be all. Brad Wolf, you jinxed us. Star Trek Beyond was perfection. Okay.
Yes.
Travis Ropeller, welcome. Thank you for becoming a lore master, good sir. Tell you what, since we're having all of this, I think it's time.
Man, it's getting hot in here. I hope you don't mind. I unbutton a couple buttons here. I hope you don't mind that.
Yeah. I made the right call. JJ Trek is close to prime canon than Star Trek Discovery. I would agree with that. I think that it was a good homage at the very least. I think that it is closer than Discovery was. And it was also just honest about, you know, not being, well, just not, honestly. If that makes any sense at all. Excuse me, it is President Archer. Meh. Discovery Klingons made me puke. They were just so bad. They were, I agree. In the Expanse, Pakistan is still wanting to be important, and Poland is angry about the population controls. Okay. Could someone potentially abuse the follower alert? Like if I unsubscribe and resubscribe, would it go off? Yes, Jeff Morello, it would. And then I would just turn it off. As I said, I think someone already did that. If it got too bad, I would just turn it off. Lore actuals. Klingons are sure as closer than Discovery. Yeah, so here's an interesting thing about that. The Klingons, and a lot of people get upset about this, but this is honest to God, my opinion. The Klingons I don't get too mad about, because if you look at the original series, the show, Klingons, then you look at the original series, the movies, then you look at the TNG series, then you look at TNG movies, then you look at Deep Space Nine. The Klingons change so much that it doesn't necessarily have an impact to me what they did in Discovery, because the Klingons just continuously change, you know? So this type of change, and it can be explained somewhat. With the augment virus, you could say that there could have been an offshoot or a negative impact, and this was another part of that. Because the augment virus, if we remember, didn't impact every... welcome for becoming a subscriber, Ambassador Carey. The augment virus didn't impact all of the Klingons, just some of them. So while we see Klingons with smooth heads in the original series, there would still be Klingons that had had ridged heads, you know? And so I don't necessarily have an issue with it. A lot of people do. A lot of people definitively do. About the only sci-fi series movie I would watch from Rian Johnson is an Alienverse movie where 99% of all characters die. That's true. Jonathan Medina, have you watched, read, or listened to any Dune? I have not. In JJ Trek, they built a couple of Connies, but switched to larger ships from the Narada scans, reverse engineer text. The Vengeance was built from the Narada. Well, and yeah, and here's an interesting thing, too. The upgraded weapons on the Enterprise, I think, were from the Narada as well. You kind of mentioned it there. And that's what I like. What's going on, Andrew Close? That's what I like about the show. That's what I like about the series, is within the movie, everything that's changed, the advancements to the Enterprise, is because of the scans from the Narada. And Starfleet is now is now a big dog on campus. And I think they have an advantage now over other governments. And what does that look like? I like that conversation. I like the way that they go. You know? I think that's interesting. At a minimum, it's really interesting. All right, going to be ending it pretty soon, guys. I got a video I got to do up tomorrow. Tomorrow's video isn't going to be not lore or anything. I'm actually going to be talking about my situation and YouTube and Patreons and ways you guys can help. So I hope you guys watch it. It won't be a breakdown like it usually is, but the rest of the week will be all breakdowns, so we don't have to worry about that. Plus the solo, which I'm going to have a fun little jab at solo, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. But anything else before we end this? 66 people watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. How does JJ Trek explain a TOS Constitution class having a registry number of 0719? They've never cared about registry numbers, so I don't think it has an interesting there. Thrawn movie thoughts. I like Thrawn. I've never really been too intense on him. If I want to see a movie with a character, it would be an Ahsoka movie, not a Thrawn one. In a deleted scene, the Klingons captured Nero in the Narada. Imagine the jump in tech they got from. Yeah, that would be interesting too. And that's a good point. Are you and Anti-Trekker foils for each other? In some respects. We're actually really good friends. I consider him a brother, honestly. All right, I guess that is where we're going to end it, guys. Hey, I want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Guys, I'm going to see you on the next, wait for it. The next, what are you asking? Well, it is the next Lore Reloaded.